Israel has never said, these are our final borders. David Ben-Gurion didn't get up on a soapbox and say, we are going to create a greater Israel, and it's going to include southern Lebanon, southern Syria, the occupied territories, Green Line Israel, the Sinai, and so forth and so on.
Those are real countries. Those are ancient countries and beautiful, beautiful countries with sophisticated, intelligent people, and like the roots of Christianity are there. And like, it's not, in other words, I mean, there's a sense if you're fighting over Sinai or something, it's one thing, but like Lebanon? I mean, that's like one of the great countries in the world. Syria, same thing. And they're being destroyed.
Political scientist John Mearsheimer, the man who wrote one of the best political books that I think everyone should read, it's known as The Israel Lobby. He wrote it with Steve Walt. Spoke to Tucker Carlson about American foreign policy and even did something that not a lot of political scholars are willing to do. He touched on something known as the Greater Israel Project. Now, before we continue, let me just say, the Greater Israel Project is not necessarily a project that all Israelis have bought into or believe should be carried out. The current Israeli government, though, is littered with people who believe in the Greater Israel Project, from the prime minister to the far right, members of the Israeli parliament, people like Ben Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich. They don't hide the ball. This is what they believe in. Itzhak Rabin was assassinated by a member of the Likud party because he believed in the two-state solution. The Likud party does not believe in a two-state solution. There are videos of Benjamin Netanyahu when he was in his 20s saying clearly that he does not believe Palestinians should be allowed to have their own state. They are not allowed to pursue self-determination. So the people in power in Israel right now absolutely believe in something known as the Greater Israel Project. And when you know that, when you understand that, it makes what's currently going on in Gaza make a lot more sense. So with that in mind, here are some more details about what the Greater Israel Project is.
The Zionists from the beginning have wanted a greater Israel. And David Ben-Gurion wrote a piece in 1918, and David Ben-Gurion, of course, is the founding father of Israel.
Yes.
Wrote a piece in 1918. I don't think it's ever been published in English. It's just in Yiddish, where he describes what his goals are for a greater Israel, right? And it obviously includes Green Line Israel, Gaza, the West Bank. It includes parts of the East Bank. It includes parts of southern Syria. It includes parts of southern Lebanon, and it includes the Sinai Peninsula. Just think about that. That was Ben-Gurion's vision. And this was a vision that was shared by almost all the early Zionist leaders. And there are still many people in Israel who are in favor of a greater Israel. They don't want a tiny Israel. The Israel that was created in 1948 is a tiny state.
Yes.
Even with Gaza and the West Bank, it's quite small. It's a postage stamp-like state, right? They want more territory, and they believe they have a historical right to that territory.
Yes. The entire world was promised to Israelis 3,000 years ago. We all know that, right? So this movement really took off after the Six-Day War. So in 1967, the movement for a greater Israel was established. The movement formed a month after the Six-Day War, in which Israel captured the Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, West Bank, and the Golan Heights. So they called on the Israeli government to keep the land and to settle them with Jewish populations. But they want to go even further, believing that Israel is entitled to the entire area from the Nile River, which of course is located in modern Egypt, to the Euphrates River, which flows through Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, from the river to the sea. Now, many people were very offended when pro-Palestinian protesters were chanting from the river to the sea. But who cares about what some Americans are chanting at university campuses? when Israel is actually carrying out the policy on their own behalf. So over the years, Netanyahu has displayed maps showing Israel stretching from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. And in fact, this past September, in a speech before the United Nations, he displayed a fascinating map. Take a look at this.
And then in 2020, we made the Abraham Accords, peace with another 4 Arab states. Now look at what happens when we make peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The whole Middle East changes. We tear down the walls of enmity. We bring the possibility of prosperity and peace to this entire region.
Prosperity and peace is laughable coming out of the mouth of that war criminal. But notice that that map didn't include Palestine, Syria, Turkey, or Iraq. And when the only Catholic church in Gaza is bombed, or when Christian churches are destroyed in the West Bank by Israeli settlers, as the IDF, of course, protects them as they carry out these heinous acts, I do not believe for a second that it's an accident. It's an accident? No, it's not an accident. In fact, Daniela Weiss has been saying so loudly for decades. It's not just about Muslims. It's about anyone who doesn't fall in line with their identity, with their beliefs, with their religion. And if you don't believe me, here she is. She's an Israeli settler. Here she is in a documentary that was published by PBS all the way back in 1989. Let's take a look.
I don't see how any person, whether Arab or of any other nationality or any other origin, finding his future here unless he fully 100% identifies with the Zionist idea. And the Zionist idea is a state for the Jewish nation. This is identifying with our tradition, with our faith, with our will to build a state for the Jews, period. And what we exactly want is a state only for the Jews. Sometimes people are afraid to say it because it sounds racism, it sounds discriminatory. Yes, if they want, they are more than welcome to identify with the Zionist idea. But if they don't want, as they express it clearly that they don't want, I don't see any reason why they should stay here.
Israeli settlers literally get paid by the number of homes they destroy in the West Bank. So don't tell me, oh, these are just unhinged Israeli settlers and they're not representative of the Israeli people. And by the way, I think that there are certainly people in Israel who are protesting what's going on. So don't equate scumbag terrorists like Daniela Weiss and the other settlers to the entire population of Israel, because there have been mass protests in Israel and those people deserve support and they should be commended. However, do not tell me that the ideology that you just heard spewed by that woman decades ago is not somehow representative of the current Israeli government, because it is. In fact, the plans to settle Gaza with Israelis is already pretty public. You just have to pay attention. Here's a headline from the New York Times. Israeli far-right minister promotes plan for Jewish resettlement in Gaza. Bezalel Smotrich described Gaza as an inseparable part of Israel, even as the Netherlands announced a ban on him and another hardline Israeli minister. And if you take a look at what the government of Israel is up to, this week on Wednesday, 6 cabinet ministers and 16 coalition MKs requested that Defense Minister Israel Katz approve a scouting mission for the activists inside Gaza as part of Netanyahu's plan to found Jewish towns in the war-torn territory. And just yesterday, Israeli settlers marched to the border of Gaza, ready to take that land, to steal it for themselves, even as Palestinians, children, women, innocent men, elderly people continue to get slaughtered. Take a look.
1,000 families, you will see them today marching, are ready to move now, here, as the situation is now, and to live in tents now. We are ready with our children to move into the Gaza area right away, because we believe that this is the way to bring quiet, peace, to put an end to Hamas.
We want to return to our land. Gaza is a promise from God to all the Jews that Gaza belongs to Israel, to Jews. So the Harbi take our land, so we have to return it to us.
These people are terrorists and we support them. We fund them. We give them free health care. We give them our unwavering support. They're some of the worst people on the planet. Again, I do not think they're representative of all Israeli civilians, but they are representative of the Israeli government. And the fact that we support the Israeli government, regardless of who's in charge or what kind of ideology they're carrying out, is wrong. So the United States government does not have a leg to stand on when it comes to violations of human rights across the globe. We just don't. Because at this current moment, we are aiding and abetting. We are funding human rights abuses. We are funding slaughter. We are funding the intentional starvation of innocent people. That is what we are doing. Each one of us goes to work every day. We work real hard. We pay our taxes, and a portion of that money funds the absolute atrocities that you have been seeing on your screen over the nearly last 2 years. That's the reality of the situation. And if it makes me an anti-Semite to say it, then go ahead and call me whatever the hell you want. That's not going to deter me, because there's truth and then there are lies and propaganda. And I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of the propaganda. I know the difference between right and wrong. And if you're kind of, wavering on this issue, you don't know where you're at. My question to you is why? Why is it that you do not think the lives of innocent Palestinians matter at all? Why is it okay for the Israelis to steal land? I just don't think it is right. And we're going to keep calling it out.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.